Good morning. Good
All right.
morning. This is Greg Suttie on soccer. I am here with Darwin Salas. He is the owner of the Iowa
Cool.
Demon Hawks. Good morning, Darwin, and thanks for joining me today.
Good morning, Greg. What a pleasure. Big fan of you and your page and all the support you do to the indoor soccer community. Thank you. It's quite an honor to be here today with you.
I appreciate you, Darwin, and it was really cool recently to get to meet you here in Southern California. But before we get started, let me take care of some sponsorship very briefly.
Mhm.
Hi, Greg Suttie on Soccer is sponsored by Audin Technologies. Audin Technologies is works on everything from security cameras to alarm systems, all the way to servers and networks. Audin Technology operates primarily in the Midwest and the Northeast, and Suttie on Soccer wants to thank Audin Technologies for sponsoring this show as it goes, and everybody that we have once a week, at least once a week. Every once in a while, we're going to go more frequently than that. But today, we are with Darwin Salas. And as I was saying, Darwin, it was a great pleasure. And it was really cool when I met you up in Ontario because you had a suite there at the Toyota Arena, and you invited me to join you in your suite. And I got to meet some of your crew and some of your friends, and enjoy some of your hospitality here in Southern California. Welcome.
Oh no. Definitely it was a blast to get to know you, to get to meet you. I know we started on a rough start when we first started the project, where I started just posting stuff on your page, and you were like, "For God's sake, put the your M2, so at least I keep track of you." And then you were really nice enough to allow me to continue doing it, and meeting you there in California. We were there for a Mexico USA
Right,
game at
right.
Toyota, and I was able to invite a lot of people that I knew from the your music industry that I had met that weekend, reunited with them, and so it was a pretty cool experience to get to meet you there, have a couple of drinks.
Well, well, Darwin, let's start kind of at the beginning. Um, Tell me about your childhood. What got you involved in falling in love with soccer? How you ended up living in Des Moines? Let's start at the very beginning. What's going on with you, Darwin?
Well, believe it or not, originally I was born in Mexico City. A big shout out
Oh, okay.
to the city of Mexico. And believe it or not, I am more of a musician. I sing since I was like 6 years of age and play
Wow.
instruments and whatnot. But like any other Latino in the world, you're born with a soccer
Mm,
ball in your hand from the
yep.
beginning. So my dad, I actually had the opportunity to play club soccer at Pumitas, which is Pumas is one
Mm,
of the teams in Mexico, UNAM Pumas, and I was part of that academy from 6 all the way to 10, and
mm,
actually became a pretty good goalie. I would represent in the categories of 8 and 9.
nice.
Pumitas, we will play against, for example, when Pumas used to play America or Guadalajara, the other pro teams, we would
Right,
play prior to the games at the stadium.
right.
So
Very
that was
cool.
a great thing prior to migrating to the US when I was 11. So I did get a little bit of my soccer, obviously for weight reasons. I don't do it that much, but I still enjoy it, love it very much.
And then you moved to the United States. Did you come directly to Iowa? No, you went through California, didn't you?
Yeah, we migrated to
Okay.
California when I was 11, right after elementary. So I started junior high here in the U.S. And with my brother, I have a sibling, a blooded brother. His name is Ulysses, lives in Vegas. So my parents and us
Okay.
two went to California and made a life there, and then moved to Iowa about 22 years ago. Yeah.
Well, what was when you grew up, came up through high school and middle school and that in California? What was the first thing that you did for employment? Was like some of your first jobs when you were living in California?
Well, you know what? I was always blessed to, I share with you that I've always been a musician. So believe it or not, when we first moved to California, I I automatically started getting involved into music. So by
Gotcha.
12 years of age, I was already part of a musical band, and we were playing weddings in
Oh wow.
quinceañeras, and then it eventually became a professional band. Recorded a couple of albums when I was young. So all
Really?
of my jobs while going to school, like middle school, high school, and even part of college, that the music kind of financed most of my career. Between
Wow.
scholarships and grants and this and that, I went to California State University in Northridge, got my bachelor's degree in marketing and finance there, and believe it or not, a big percentage of my tuition was paid with music. Me playing musical instruments and playing at nightclubs. So
Interesting.
isn't
Interesting.
that isn't
Um,
that interesting? Eh?
yeah, that's really. I mean, I didn't know that. That's really cool. Are you still
Yeah,
involved in music at all today? Do you still play every once in a while?
I do a lot of production. We also I raced. I'm like, put it this way. Let me tell you some really cool story about being in the right time at the right moment in the right place. Okay. When I graduated from college, my first job was at Viacom Paramount Pictures, and I was a financial analyst there.
Okay.
And I was there for about a year. And then one day I get an email from the Career Center stating, okay, we're looking for someone that is bilingual. I'm bilingual, has an interest in music, and has a degree in finance. And I'm like, and this is for this company called Fonovisa Records. At that time, me being a musician all my life, and I would look up to all the artists that were in that record label. So the minute I got that email, I'm like, Fonovisa, is this a dream come true? A dream come true? I mean, I'm finance, I'm bilingual, and I like music. So this was on a Wednesday. I sent my resume right away, interviewed on a Friday, and I gave obviously my 2 weeks notice, and I started working for that record label where I did my whole career was there. A few years later, that company decided to acquire radio stations and venues in the Midwest. So they
Okay.
decided to send me here to the cold of Iowa
Okay.
to work on that. So I worked in entertainment, doing that. Like I said, all my life has been entertainment. Then I found out a niche. Here in the Midwest, for people that don't know it, at least for the Latino community, everything is like new. So I came here and noticed that Latino restaurants did not have technology. Like they were running the restaurants with pen and paper. And
Oh
and at
wow.
that time, we had made a major investment in computers to run the venues. So I figured, there's a need for this. So I started pitching that, helping out these businesses, and that ended up becoming my business called Salas Enterprises for 20 years now. And
Okay.
and then 2016 came after my business was already mature. Got the opportunity to acquire a radio station called La Cubuena, and also get involved with soccer. So it's a crazy story, but
Wow.
it's all being in the
It's
right
a
place at the
great
right time.
story.
Yeah.
Wow, that's a great story, Darwin. I mean, so as the person that went through your adolescence and early adulthood and opened and began your got your education, began your professional career in literally in Southern California. Um,
Yes.
Now you find yourself in Iowa, in Des Moines, Iowa. Talk
Yes.
about talk about the culture shock. So let me just share something really quick. I grew up in Southern California, and early in my professional career, one of the things I did, I worked for one of the major airlines. We were based in St. Louis, and so I'm going to Missouri, and it's like, okay, I have no idea what I'm getting myself into. I have no idea how hot it is in the summer times. I have no idea how cold it is in the winter times. So I can relate to the culture shock that you went through. Tell me about your experience going to Des Moines.
Oh my God. I crashed my car 3 times the first year. I crashed my car literally 3 times on my first year here in Des Moines. Because, you need to know how to drive. My coach has crashed once already. It is definitely a learning curve. Coming from California, getting used to the traffic and the entertainment. I mean, I came from the entertainment world. Like I was at a record label. And then all of a sudden, I come here to Des Moines. And I'm talking 22 years ago, where there was practically zero entertainment, at least in the Latino. And so I felt pretty lonely at first. But you need to reinvent yourself. And then if you were to ask me now if I would trade Iowa, this beautiful state, this beautiful city, for any other place, I wouldn't. I love it. It's a great place.
Awesome. What kind of Latino population is there in Des Moines?
You know what? We're still very percentage-wise in Iowa. I believe we're about 8%.
Okay.
But check this out. Check this out. About 2 months ago, I did because I have a podcast as well with the radio station and stuff. So I did an interview with the Des Moines Public Schools, with the high schools. I did an interview with them, and I almost fell off my chair when they told me, what percentage of Latinos come to the Des Moines Public Schools high school graduates? And I'm thinking, I mean, if we're 8% of the population, maybe 10, 15%, 40%.
Wow.
40% of the high school students in the Des Moines area metro school is 40%. I was like, I almost fell off my chair. That means that the base is growing. And then I started researching middle school and elementary school. And us Mexicans and Latinos just love having babies. So watch out, Des Moines, because sooner or later it's gonna be a lot more.
That's pretty good.
And that's one of the reasons why I also fell in love with the whole soccer for those 2 reasons. Number one, I know that base, that diversity, the diversity of our city is huge. I mean, you have people from all kinds of different backgrounds, and the sport, and you will not let me correct me if I'm wrong, but the sport that every single culture in the world has in common is soccer.
Absolutely.
It's affordable. It's a leather ball with 2 goals, and anybody can play it. So that was one thing. And the second thing that made me fall in love, because it was really a crazy idea. One of my players, Rafa Nascimento, who plays for the Demon Hawks now, and he is also one of the managers for the team, came with the idea. He's the one that brought up the idea and said, hey, we should start an indoor soccer here in Des Moines. I'm like, that's a crazy idea. Why would I do an indoor soccer? At that time, I already had the radio station. And then when he started showing me videos, and I saw the entertainment aspect of it, and me coming from entertainment and the music and the cheerleaders and the all the cool stuff, like my mind blew away. I'm like, this is the future. Like, this is what people are gonna like. So
absolutely. And I'll tell you what, the international flavor of soccer, like you were talking about, that's what got me. I mean, here in San Diego, the San Diego Sockers back in 1979, when I was 19 years old, and they were a good team. They were good enough to make it to the semifinals of the outdoor NASL And I would just love sport in general. And I went to go see this team, and play this game of soccer in at the stadium in San Diego. And it was the thing that appealed to me the most was the fact of what you're saying, that my club team in my town could take on any country national team, any other club team in the world, and the culture crosses the line. In fact,
Definitely.
right? In fact, so many of the players on the soccer's team back then were international players. I used to call it the Tower of Babel on the soccer field, because everybody spoke a different language.
Yes.
And yet they played together as a team, and I just fell in love with it. I absolutely fell in love with it. And then, of course, what you're saying, the indoor game came into town, and I'm kind of going, oh boy, now we got something. This is, and what you're saying about your entertainment background, like, I mean, that must have just been like, wow, I found my niche. I found what I love.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. Basically I want to be part of this. I want to, I mean, you probably watch some of our broadcasts of our games, and we try to get creative on the entertainment part of things. I think people, when they go to an indoor game, they have to go for an experience, not just for a soccer game.
That's correct.
Yes, there's going to be plenty of goals. There's going to be plenty of tricks. There's a sport aspect of it, but they have to expect that when they go to an indoor soccer game, at least for the Demon Hawks, it's going to be entertainment, yelling, cheering, and just being excited throughout the 3 hours of the game,
So let me ask you, let's get into the conversation about the Demon Hawks. How long have the Demon Hawks been around as a team?
Well, we started having the radio station. I started getting involved with local leagues here in Des Moines, just because there's a lot of Latino leagues and whatnot. So I started getting involved in there, and then back in 2017, again, Rafa Nascimento comes up to me and tells me, you know what, Darwin, there's has been years prior to that, there was a big immigration of Brazilian players to universities in Iowa. Wow. Because at some point they wanted to up the level of soccer nationwide. So they started recruiting Brazilian players. So now guess what? 2017, a lot of those players were already graduating from their universities and had already families in here, ended up setting roots in Des Moines. Some got married, some already had their jobs back then. And a lot of those players, were like kicking butt in the local leagues here.
Right.
We're like, you know what? Why don't we put together a competitive team just to compete? I'm like, but how do we do that? Well, let's just start doing tournaments. So that's when a team called Des Moines United, that was the original name of the Iowa Demon Hawks, got created. So we got together all these Brazilian players, including Bruno Henrique, who then ended up playing for the Tropics and then came back to the Demon Hawks, and now he's in Baltimore.
Yeah.
So players like Bruno Henrique, a lot of people say, oh, Demon Hawks got all these players from the M1 to compete. No, they were players that were already in Des Moines United playing futsal. Right, so we had all these Brazilian players that came to school here and put together a really cool futsal team. And we started winning all these futsal tournaments and ended up even being finalists at this World Futsal Tournament in Orlando, Florida. Wow. And then so it started picking up. We got invited at that time to be part of the MFL, which is the Major Futsal League. Okay. But there were not enough teams in there. So it was just like a 1 year type of thing, not enough games and whatnot. At that point, we transitioned into outdoor. We felt we saw a big need for opportunities to college students to play at a different level, right? There's a team here, very popular team called the Menace. Okay. They're in the USL 2, national champions too in the outdoor. But at that time, the menace was bringing players from other states that they were not really giving opportunities to the local.
Right.
So we figured, you know what? Let's start giving opportunities. Let's start Des Moines United. Let's join back then the UPSL. Then we joined the NPSL, and let's do an outdoor team. So we started with the outdoor team, recruiting all these local college players, and eventually won championships. You know, we went all the way to be top 4 in the nation in the NPSL. Cool. Won our conference. We've won it the last 4 years in a row. And then the opportunity to join the M3 Arise. We joined the M3.
Right.
And then won a championship there. Then moved to M2, and you know the story of. The reason we rebranded to be the Iowa Demon Hawks was because in our 22-23 year, which was our first season in the M2, we had no house. We had no home.
Okay.
So we had to share the arena with Cedar Rapids, with the Raptors.
Okay.
So we didn't want to be called Des Moines United because nobody would support us there.
Right.
So we figured, okay, Iowa, Demon for Des Moines, Hawks for the Hawkeyes, which is that University in there.
That's clever.
And let's call it Iowa Demon Hawks.
We
still had only 15 people in the bleachers, but still tried it, you know?
That's clever. Well done. I love that. That's a really
that year, if you remember, there was a lack of leadership. I mean, we had all these star players. We had Ricardo Villegas, we had Bruno, we had a whole bunch of great players from the M1 because of that situation with the visas or whatnot. They couldn't play M1.
Right.
So I was able to get those players that were already in my team for futsal, get back together. But we didn't even make it to the playoffs because there was no leadership. We had no one. Every player was doing whatever they wanted to do. There was no great leadership. But this last year, we decided to hire Thiago Coutinho, which is the Brazilian national team coach.
Right.
And it was a complete different story. We got into the Buccaneers arena, brought it to Des Moines, 184 goals and 15-0 season. So
absolutely. And you still haven't lost, but we'll talk. You're still undefeated. You've only played one game this season, but you're still undefeated. That was an incredible run last season. Let's talk a little bit about last season, because there were some interesting things that took place in the championship. Format was all 4 teams were scheduled to go to Wichita, and the home of the Wings.
It was actually a total of 8 teams.
Oh, was it 8?
It was 8. Yes.
Okay. And among those teams were the Demon Hawks and, of course, the Wichita Wings. The Rochester Lancers, I believe, were there as well.
Yep.
Now, wasn't there a team that did not show up that was supposed to be there?
Yes, I think it was a team from El Paso
that
decided not to show up last minute.
Right.
And so it ended up being a 7 teams. So one of the teams, I believe it was the New Mexico team. The what is it called? The Runners.
The New Mexico Runners. Yeah.
Yes. I think they're the ones that didn't play that first game, so they had a little extra advantage, and those are the ones we played for quarterfinals, I believe, or semifinals.
Okay.
And it was a tough game. It was probably tougher than the actual championship game.
Really?
You know? Yes. I don't know if because we had played a game before and they hadn't.
Right.
And their style of game was completely unexpected. It was more physical, you know.
Talk to me a little bit about the transition. A lot of fans, MASL fans, because of the pyramid, you've got M3, M2, M1, and of course the MW. But as far as the men's pyramid is concerned, talk a little bit about what it takes to transition from MASL 3 to MASL 2. What's involved in that?
Well, The way it happened for us, it's basically by winning a championship in the M3, we were granted some sort of a special pricing to go into M2 and get the
Oh,
franchise.
interesting. Wow.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, and I'm hoping something similar would happen for M1. You know, I mean, that's
Yeah.
if you're
Wow.
listening to me, Keith and Chris and all of you guys out there, you should truly consider giving an opportunity to the M2 teams to win championships and grant them the ability to move up to M1 if
Hmm.
if they can, you know.
Wow. That's cool. Very cool. Very cool. I've got a question from one of the viewers. His name is Jim Spiegelhalter, and I've known Jim for many years.
Uh-huh.
We've actually never met,
Okay.
but he's been a friend of mine online for many years. And
Okay.
Jim is asking you, what are your goals for the MASL? What are
Well, definitely aim high. Definitely eventually become be part of the M1 of the MASL. Uh, However, it's not just about winning games and winning championships. You know, it's about winning your audience and the support of your market, and that is something that we've been working on very hard. Um, Part of the strategy for us is obviously to be champions again this year
right?
and work. I mean, we're already working. I mean, if you were to ask Chris Economides or anyone out there that has dealt with us, we're an M2 making things the way M1 teams do. And that's what I suggest other M2 teams should do. If they really want, if their business model is to stay in M2 and just stay there and feed players to the M1, and that is your business model, so be it. You know, that is great. There's other types of teams like my team that actually want the team to be in the M1. So it's a different strategy. You know, for those teams that have those same goals that I do, work on your audience, you know, do soccer clinics. Like we do soccer clinics in the Des Moines Public Schools, free out of charge. Really take care of our audience, get engaged as much as you can, because it takes one city, one team, one family. It's not just the team, you know, it's got to have the audience. So the reason we decided not to move to M1 and make the investment on the franchise and whatnot was because we did not feel ready last year to do it, you know.
Gotcha.
Hopefully in the next year or two, that will be the next step, you know. We're also involved. We're blessed to be involved with the Brazilian national team, where I'm the director of international affairs for Mini Football Brazil. So
Wow.
one of the initiatives that we did last year here in Des Moines was to bring international games. We actually did 3 international games.
That's
We
right.
did Demon Hawks versus Brazil, Brazil versus Mexico, and Brazil versus USA.
Yeah.
With the purpose, not so much with the purpose of making money, but with the purpose of making people fall in love with the sport. You know, if they
Yeah.
didn't give a chance to Demon Hawks, they at least give a chance to Brazil USA, and so just continue working hard,
Yeah.
making our market fall in love with it, give a good product to people, and eventually go to the major arena soccer league top tier.
In fact, Darwin, I remember that series of games that you put on, those international games that you hosted. And I recall, excuse me, I recall you offering me to come out there and be a part of that. And I really am sorry
Yes.
I'm sorry that I had already arranged, family things going on. That would have been a blast. But
That would have been great. Yeah.
yeah,
I
it would
think
have
I
been.
offer you for both, for the Mexico Brazil and the
Yes,
Brazil USA.
yes, you did.
Hey,
And
but this year we'll definitely have you here. We'll
yeah,
we'll
that would
plan
be
ahead.
that would be a lot of fun. So yeah, so that's interesting. The desire to move up to M1. There's there's expenses involved that most
Yes.
M2 teams don't have to take care of, that would be involved in moving up to M1. Your venue is an adequate place to play. You're already playing in a decent location, so it's
Mhm.
not like you would need to move or find a new home or anything like that. Let's talk a little bit about the M2 expansion that took place this year. A number of teams that were not there last season are there this season,
Mhm.
primarily here in the West. I know the Jets, Chihuahua was Chihuahua in M2 last year.
Yeah,
Okay,
they were actually champions the year that our first year in the M2. They were the champions. So yeah.
right, and the Soccer's two are new to the not new but back. The
Uh huh.
Jets are back again
Yeah.
from Empire.
There's
Turlock,
a Denver team that promises to be very good. They got some good star players, some good players there. So
the
it's definitely a complete different story when it comes to level
right,
of soccer. Especially with the Soccers in there and Savage and that Denver team, Baltimore. All
that's
these teams
right,
that have affiliations.
that's right.
I don't know if I could share some letter that they sent to all the owners. I'd rather not.
Okay.
But apparently, there's going to be for affiliate teams. They're going to have the option to have more players.
Oh,
It's going to be a lot more flexible to have M1 players into an M2.
right, moving
Which,
back and forth
um,
between the teams.
which I don't know how much of a disadvantage us teams that don't have an affiliation would have, but
Right.
I guess they do it for the best of the league. But it's good for us. It's good. We enjoy competition,
Sure.
because we have
Absolutely.
what it takes. I mean, we put together a great team, and you'll see it throughout the season. We barely started.
Right.
We just had one game, and
Right.
but hopefully we'll make our audience proud this year as well.
So in your division, you're in the North Division of MASL2, and in your division is the Ambush 2, which have played 4 games already, and they've won them all.
Yeah.
The Hawks, the Demon Hawks, the Blizzard, the Conquerors, and the Risers. Now,
Yep.
you played one game, and you played the Blizzard. Is that correct?
Yeah, we played the Minnesota Blizzards. Yes.
And that was a pretty big win. You won 11-2.
11-2. I mean, 11-2, and to be honest with you, I like to give recognition to the Minnesota team. I mean, they play with their heart. I mean, you're playing a national championship team on your first year at
Right.
their home,
Right.
and they were giving us a hard time the last 2 quarters.
Wow.
If you notice, most of our goals we made the first 2 quarters, and then the last 2, they scored on us. And if you would have, if the game would have been just the last 2 quarters, it would have been a 4-2 game.
Interesting.
So
Yeah, there you go.
big props to them. Big props to them. Big, a lot of respect. We're gonna be playing Muskegon on the 18th. I'm a big fan of the way they run their business, the way they run their audience.
Okay.
I'm hoping to at some point be able to have the audience and the loyalty that their people have over at Muskegon.
Wow, that's a heck of a statement.
Yeah.
Of the teams in MASL2, the Demon Hawks and the Ambush, as we just discussed, are undefeated.
Mhm.
There are 5 teams in your division.
Yep.
There are 7 teams in the Midwest West division, and in that division,
Midwest?
the Wings, the Lions, the Savage 2, the Soccers 2, the Jets, the Express, and the Runners. Of those teams, the only team that still remains undefeated is the Savage 2.
Uh-huh.
And then Krasiznik in the East, along with Spice City, Baltimore, and Salisbury. Krasiznik is the only other team in that division. So, and there's 4 teams there. So with 16 teams in the league, there are only 4 that remain undefeated, and you're one of them. And you're running, and it may be only a 1-0 record. However, as we mentioned earlier, It's
Uh-huh.
actually undefeated through last season. You didn't lose a game last year at all.
That is correct. That is correct.
So
We were blessed to
yeah,
win all 15 games, put in 184 goals, and
wow.
no, it was really an amazing experience last year. Yeah,
And in the
and
championship,
hope to continue doing it.
right? Absolutely. And in the championship, was being held in Wichita, and last season,
Mhm.
and Wichita was a really strong team. I think most of us that didn't have a lot of familiarity with all of the other teams that were there, I think most of us expected
Uh-huh.
Wichita as a home team to come away with that championship. But you
Really.
had other, but
I
you
mean,
had other
Rochester
plans.
had a very
I know.
well-oiled team.
Yeah,
Uh, but if you were to ask me, for us, which was the toughest team to beat, it was the Runners. Believe it or not.
that's interesting.
Believe it or not, they were way harder than Rochester. And Rochester
Interesting.
was pretty much undefeated as well, just like we
That's
were.
right. That's right.
Yeah,
Yeah. I mean, that was cool. That was a cool, it was really a cool tournament
yeah,
because there were some strong teams. And as you're saying, that the others that maybe came in because so many teams, because there was, 8 teams invited, you're going to
uh-huh,
have, you're going to have some lopsided results. Some of the, there's going to be some teams that come in that aren't quite as good, perhaps, as some of the
exactly.
others. So
Yeah,
you might have some lopsided results, but no, that was really exciting, and for me, it was sort of a. I mean, the Sockers too have won 2 championships in the past, and the Savage too have won 2 championships in the past. So those teams, in those years were fun, but it just looked to me like I was disappointed as a guy here in Southern California. I was disappointed last season that the Sockers too weren't part of it, and that the
yeah.
and that the Jets weren't part of it. But it's
No,
really good.
I'm really looking forward, and nothing against because the thing is that the playoffs, which by the way will be here in Des Moines, Iowa, we're
Oh wow!
hosting playoffs for the M2 and the women's.
Oh
Uh,
nice!
yeah, so I'm really looking forward to playing Savage or Sockers, because it's gonna be the third place, the 3 top teams and the best second. So
Okay,
for the 4 spots.
right.
So
Ah,
uh, ambush with the way all the goals they'll be making, going back to the to being an affiliate team. I mean,
right.
they've been putting a lot of goals these last couple of games. So maybe the second place team comes, and I'm already claiming first place on my season because that's the way I think. but
Absolutely.
but no, I think Ambush is gonna do great. Savage and Sockers in that in the Midwest is either gonna be Savage or Sockers.
You
So it's
think?
gonna be an amazing playoffs.
I mean, the Wichita Wings came through San Diego. So this season, the Sockers reached out to me. The Sockers 2 reached out to me, and I'm doing the play-by-play for the Sockers 2
Uh-huh.
here in San Diego. And the Wichita Wings came through San Diego after having played up in Ontario, the Jets, the day before.
Uh-huh.
They came to Southern California undefeated with a 4-0 record. They
Uh-huh.
left San Diego with 2 losses. Or they left Southern California with 2 losses. But one of those 2 losses in overtime. But
Okay.
the Wings still look like a powerful side. They're a well organized, well coached,
Oh yeah.
um, good players. So the Wings look like they might be a tough run in the Sockers division. And of course, you mentioned the Runners. The Runners haven't won a game yet, but they're always competitive. They're always in it. And then the Turlock Express are new to the whole thing again, back again. And then
No,
the Jets,
definitely the Midwest division, it's a tough cookie.
yeah,
Like they could have break it into 2 different divisions there.
yeah,
Um, that is gonna be tough. I mean,
yeah,
whoever comes out of that,
yeah.
it's gonna be really tough.
No
Yes.
kidding. Well, it's good news. I mean, I've spoken with a couple of other guys over the last couple of weeks, and just sort of touched and briefly made a referencing to what the playoff format for the M2 is going to be. And in both cases, the conversation sort of deferred to we don't know yet. So you're telling me that the decision
so maybe I'm talking too much.
Well, maybe not. See, maybe not, because I mean, if you're hosting,
Hey.
and you can tell us that we're going to have the top 4 teams of come into Des Moines. That's pretty exciting news.
Yes, I hope I don't get hanged or I get sued for saying information that I'm not supposed to. Wait for the league to do it. But yes, it's gonna be for the M2. It's gonna be a 4 teams format, and it's gonna be the top 3 teams of each division plus the best second.
Well, we're live, Darwin. We're live, so I can't edit this, man.
Hey, I'm sorry, Chris. I had no idea you hadn't disclosed that information to Greg. But yes, and they're gonna be on April 11th and 12th, a week after the M1 finals.
Wow. Okay. Well, that's great news.
Which, by the way, worries us a little bit, because now with that new situation where they're gonna allow M1 players to play M2, like more players, we're thinking if San Diego makes it, or Savage makes it, or Ambush makes it, they're gonna bring an M1 team.
Yeah, right.
But it is what it is. It is what it is.
Baltimore is a Baltimore Arsenal, is it? I think they're an affiliation with the Blast as well, aren't they?
Yeah, exactly. Now there's a few teams that have affiliations. If you remember, on our first year we were affiliated with the Ambush, and then they decided to get their 2 teams. So now we're running solo.
So is there another team in Des Moines?
Indoor, no. We're the only indoor team. In Iowa, we have the Raptors, but they didn't play this year. I don't know if they're gonna play next year.
That's who I was thinking. Where are the Raptors? Where were the Raptors located?
The Raptors were in Cedar Rapids, which is like 2.5 hours away. Yeah,
that's right. So one of the things that I wanted to talk to you a little bit about, we mentioned earlier about the Southern California kids going to the Midwest, and how much of a weather shock, culture shock, weather shock that is to have to go there. It's one thing to visit; it's another thing to live there. And when I was working for the airlines, one of the things that I used to do was keep track of the coldest in the wintertime, because I'm flying out of St. Louis, and we fly along a lot in the Midwest. And so the coldest I have ever experienced in my life was in Des Moines, Iowa. And I don't remember what the actual temperature was, but the wind chill factor was under 50 below zero. Yeah. And that's just, I mean, bone chilling.
They typically advertise 2 temperatures. Okay, it's like right now it's 7 degrees, but -7 with winds. So it's like it's always or they put it's 7 degrees, feels like -14.
Right. Wow. That's just, and that's I'm sorry, but that's cold. I've sitting here when we get snow in the mountains, or the local mountains, that the temperature there when it snows is probably in the middle and low 30s. The snow doesn't melt because it doesn't get much hotter, much over maybe 40. And for me, that's like really cold.
Yeah.
But
in here, when you're super cold in California, 42 degrees.
Yeah.
Here people are in their motorcycles and bicycles, and like it's like with shorts on. So
wearing shorts and flip flops. Yeah,
definitely.
That's so crazy. I mean, it's fun though. I mean, one of the things about Southern California that we don't experience is autumn. There's no changing of the tree colors. I mean, a tree here and there might drop the leaves and turn colors, but entire hillsides changing colors doesn't happen. And that's one of the things when I was in St. Louis, that it was the first time I'd ever seen something like that. I mean, an entire mountain range that's just covered in all these orange and yellow and bright, brilliant colors, which is beautiful. I mean, it's a beautiful
No,
time
and
of year.
it's amazing when after the winter, literally within 2 weeks, everything turns green. Like you can have zero leaves on the trees.
Yes.
2 weeks later, when springtime comes, boom,
Yeah.
everything turns green. So it's
lush, and it's lush. It's when it's green, it's lush.
Quite beautiful.
Just amazing. So many trees, so thick, forests. I mean, just all over the place. Even in the cities, at the edge of the cities, most of the communities, when the housing tracts end, it goes directly. It's instantly a forest. I mean, it's just thick trees out there. It's really beautiful. It's just amazing. All right. So you talked about being part of the Brazilian. Well, talk a little bit about that.
Well, yeah, I was, as of today, people question me, like, how in the world were you able to bring the Brazilian national team coach to Des Moines, Iowa,
right,
from a beautiful weather in Brazil to here? We go back to being in the right place at the right time.
Yeah.
Heiner House, who is our main goalie,
Yep.
Everybody knows Heiner House.
Of course.
Actually set roots in Cedar Rapids after he graduated college and that. So when he played with the Demon Hawks, he loved the culture of the Demon Hawks. And he happens to play for the Brazilian national team for many years.
Right.
So he made the connection. One day he calls me. I was very disappointed or very... I just felt really bad that we had put a team full of stars on our first season, and we couldn't even make it to playoffs. Like it was like, how in the world do we have this team, which is a potential? Everybody was saying, "Oh, they're going to be champions. They're going to be champions," and then for lack of leadership, we didn't even make it to playoffs. That was like a really low point on the team.
Yeah.
But I was like, and then put it into perspective that we had no home. So I wasn't able to get sponsorships going. I wasn't able to get people in the stadium because it wasn't our market. Right. And then you have all this, at least give me the opportunity to win, with this team. So none of it happened. Like we no people, no sponsorships, and not even playoffs opportunity.
Right.
And so at that point I was like, we need to do something. There's got to be something we could do. So I started looking for leadership. I started looking for a new coach for the team. And Heiner gives me a call, tells me, hey, you know what? How would you like to have the mini football Brazilian coach in Iowa? I'm like, what? Is that true? Yes, he's got his own situations in Brazil, and he has some sort of calling. He's a very Christian-oriented guy. His name is Tiago.
Very cool.
And somehow he had a vision that he was gonna go somewhere else and make big things somewhere else. And I'm like, okay. So I put him. We get into a Zoom call. We automatically, personality-wise, fall in love. Mutually, his goals and mine pretty much align. Wow. When he arrived here, automatically saw it. A complete different way of soccer. Mm-hmm. Let me share something pretty cool with you, with the audience. The very first week that he came to the U.S., okay, we went to this Chinese restaurant, okay? We went to a Chinese restaurant. And you know how you got that cookie? You bring those cookies at the end?
Yes.
Okay? When I opened that cookie, I don't know if you can see it, but I will read it to you.
Okay.
It basically says, the cookie said, your sports team will be very successful this year.
Oh, my goodness.
On the very first meeting that I had with him at that Chinese restaurant.
Oh
and
my goodness!
that's exactly what happened. I mean, we
From a Chinese fortune cookie.
from a siding fortune cookie, it just started flowing. You know, he did it for the right reasons. He left his family there. We recently got him approved for his O visa. So he's
Nice.
going to be here for the next 5 years,
Wow.
developing the academy. He
Wow.
then brought the opportunity when he saw my experience in entertainment and the way
Yeah.
I manage things,
Yeah.
and how we could work together. He made the introduction with the president of Brazil Federation, and that's when it was decided that Iowa was going to be the home in the U.S. for Mini Football Brazil. So we brought Mini Football Brazil here because, as you know, most of the players play already in the U.S. You know, in
Right.
M1
Right.
or
Right.
or
Right.
MLS or whatever. So yeah.
Yeah.
So
That's
our
outstanding.
our goal for this beautiful city is to bring the Brazilian way of playing soccer to Des Moines. You know,
Wow.
I don't know if you knew that, but in Brazil, in soccer academies here in Iowa, at least, and probably in other places, little kids start playing in the big field from the beginning. You know, it's like
Hmm.
chasing the ball, blah, 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 blah.
Hmm. Hmm.
In Brazil, up until you're 13, you don't play outdoor, you play indoor. You develop the touches, you develop the speed, you develop that's the reason Brazilian players are really good. So we're trying to bring that to Iowa,
Wow. That's very
um,
cool.
by developing the academy, by doing all these clinics, and just grow the love for the sport of indoor soccer.
So essentially, the local culture that you're creating for soccer in general is a Brazilian culture.
Yes, yes.
Wow.
Even though we both have like I told you, we have an indoor and an outdoor project.
Right. Right.
In our outdoor project, we probably have 50 nationalities represented, like people from all
Okay.
over the world
Right.
represented. In our indoor team last year, maybe 80% was Brazilian
Right.
or Brazilian descendant. This year, it changed a lot. This
Okay.
year, we're probably into a 40-60 mix, about
Gotcha.
40% Brazilian, 60%. But we're making all players from other cultures
That's right.
learn the Brazilian, the jogo bonito way of playing, and
Right.
you will
Right.
see it. You will see the way the team plays is continuing the same fundamentals of futsal, passing all the time, just playing beautifully. It's completely different than most teams, even in the M1, that just play vertical and bouncing on the boards. Now ours is more passes and
That's
getting
very.
to the other
That's
nets.
very cool. That's very, very
So
cool.
we plan to keep that same formation.
Well, one of the things I wanted to mention was I love how you market yourself. I love the fire glasses and everything that you do. Um,
My youngest son criticizes me all the time. He says, "Daddy, you're ridiculous. Stop doing that." That there isn't a marketing idea that he doesn't, excuse the language, but he doesn't shit on.
yeah,
But
yeah.
then when he sees it working, it just he's like, okay.
Well, it's a great persona. I love it very much, and I love
Thank
and
you.
I love the fact that you are using at least my platform and probably others too. But I mean, keep doing it because I love having you. I love the stuff that you share.
Thank you.
I love the way that you market yourself, and it really is fun. I got to tell you every time. I mean, and I mean this every single time I see a new post of yours with your flaming glasses. It always makes me chuckle. I mean,
What else is this chubby guy gonna say today? No?
no kidding. Oh, it's so cool. And I gotta really thank you. I appreciate you very much. I appreciate what you're doing for the sport in Des Moines and how seriously you've taken it
Yeah.
to make it to put out a quality product that every team that comes to Des Moines has to think about it, who they're playing, and this is going to be a serious match because these guys are going to take it to us if we don't take it to them first. And I appreciate the way that you operate the entire deal. How is the fan base coming along? Are people
It's
showing
coming
up for you?
along. It's supporting that. I wanted to take an opportunity to really thank this beautiful city of Des Moines. We
Yeah.
really consider them part of our family. We started this new thing called the Hog Legion Squad,
Okay.
where we based it on the number 7.
Yep.
Why the number 7? Because there's 6 players on the field. The 7th
Yep.
is our audience.
That's right.
So we got this whole thing marketing wise, saying that I'm a 7, you're a 7, we are all 7s.
Nice.
And people are catching up to that. Like
That's great.
we love to give back to the community. We're going to continue giving back to the community through soccer clinics, through coaches clinics. We do all kinds of stuff to keep on engaging. Cuco, our mascot, crashes basically every single party out there, invited or uninvited.
Oh, that's
We've
great.
gone into trouble a couple of times, but it is part of the culture of the team.
That's great.
And people are reacting. And it's been how I think every business or every project should be. You know, it's not like boom. I'd rather it be steady up, build it up organically, than maybe just go like this and then go down. You know, so I like the fact that it's been a gradual uphill, and we're just gonna continue doing the best we can to make it happen.
Darwin Salas, I want to thank you so much for showing up today and giving me your time. I know time is valuable, and I appreciate you giving me this hour conversation. This is great. I loved how
amazing.
And it's so fun. It's so fun just to have, connection with people. And the community, this indoor soccer community is a pretty small group of people if you really think about it. And getting to know each and every one of you guys has been a great pleasure for me. And I really do appreciate you very much. And again, thanks for the hospitality up in Ontario and getting to see you down in San Diego as well. And that would be fun to come out to Des Moines next year. Or this
live
year.
Watch, Greg. Hey, you can come. You're invited to our 124 game. Actually, to our 215 game, which is gonna be our opening night for our women's soccer team. It's gonna be the first time we're gonna do a double header, women's opening up, and then the men's. Okay. I would love to have you around, or for sure, for players for nationals. I would love to have you here. The nationals for women are going to be March 28th through the 30th. And here in Des Moines, Iowa at Buccaneers Arena. And the men's on April 11th and 12th. Again, here in Des Moines, Iowa. So
all right.
Have you here.
Yeah, thank you very much. That's very kind of you. We'll see what we can do to work out that schedule. I appreciate your time today. Thanks for joining me. This is Greg Suttie on Soccer. And I want to thank Darwin Salas, the owner of the Iowa Demon Hawks. And I love, by the way, the story that you have for how you came up with that name. Thanks for being so candid and so open and a great conversation, and make it a great day, my friend.
Thank you so much, Greg. Pleasure.
All right.